When that wise rabbi first spoke to me, he said a simple phrase that changed everything. He said, "My son, wealth is not just about money. It is about the alignment of your soul with the divine flow of abundance." This idea was so profound because it reminded me of what our sages teach in the Talmud, in Tractate Barachot, where it says that the blessing of wealth is not just in the material, but in the spiritual intention behind it. The blessing comes when your financial pursuits are connected to a higher purpose, not just personal gain. This principle teaches us that money is a tool, a resource given by Hashem, and how we use it determines whether it becomes a blessing or a burden. The Torah teaches us in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18, "You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth." This reminds us that wealth is not solely the product of our efforts, but a divine gift that we must steward responsibly. When I realized this, it shifted my mindset. I stopped seeing money as the enemy or as something elusive. Instead, I began to see it as a responsibility, an opportunity to serve a greater good. Let me share a personal story that illustrates this transformation. Before meeting that rabbi, I was obsessed with chasing quick profits. I invested in trendy startups, hoping for fast returns, but I was disconnected from my values. I neglected my family, my community, and even my own spiritual growth. One day, after a particularly devastating financial loss, I sat alone in my study, feeling defeated. Suddenly, a verse from Proverbs came to mind. "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches." This struck me deeply. I realized that wealth without integrity and purpose is hollow. So I made a vow to rebuild my life differently. The rabbi taught me to start with gratitude and giving. He pointed to the mitzvah of tzedakah, charity, which is one of the most fundamental commandments in Judaism. In the Talmud, in Baba Batra 9a, it is said that tzedakah saves from death. This is not just a metaphor. Giving with a pure heart opens channels of blessing in all areas of life, including finances. At first, giving when I was struggling felt counterintuitive, but I followed the teaching and began to give even a small portion of what I earned. To my surprise, doors began to open, new opportunities appeared, and my relationships improved. This brings me to another crucial lesson from our tradition: the importance of honest work and ethical business practices. The Torah repeatedly emphasizes honesty in transactions. Leviticus 19:35-36 commands us to have honest measures and fair scales. The Rambam, Maimonides, elaborates in his Mishneh Torah that honesty in business is a reflection of one's character and closeness to God. When I applied this, I made a commitment to conduct all my dealings with utmost integrity, even when it meant losing short-term gains. Over time, I found that this honesty built trust and long-term partnerships, which proved far more valuable than any quick profit. Consider the story of Rabbi Hillel, who is famous for his wisdom and kindness. He taught us the golden rule: what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. This ethical approach to business is timeless. In modern terms, it means treating customers, employees, and partners with respect and fairness. I began to see that wealth built on the foundation of kindness and fairness is sustainable and brings true satisfaction. The rabbi also introduced me to the concept of Shabbat, the sacred day of rest, which is not just a day off, but a spiritual practice that nurtures abundance. In Exodus 28-11, we are commanded to keep the Sabbath holy, to rest from our labor. This is deeply connected to our understanding of work and wealth. The Talmud in Shabbat 118b explains that observing Shabbat is a sign of faith that God provides. When I started to honor Shabbat fully, I found a new rhythm in life. the stress and anxiety of chasing money lessened, my creativity and clarity increased, allowing me to make better decisions in business and life. Another powerful teaching I learned is the idea of hakarat hatov, recognizing the good. This comes from the root word tov, meaning good, and it is an attitude of gratitude for all things, especially the small blessings we often overlook. The sages teach that gratitude is the key to unlocking abundance. The Midrash explains that when a person acknowledges the good in their life, they invite more good to come. I began a daily practice of listing things I was grateful for, even in the midst of financial challenges. This simple act shifted my perspective from scarcity to abundance. This gratitude connects deeply to the concept of emunah, faith. Real faith is not passive belief, but active trust in God's providence, even when circumstances seem bleak. The story of Joseph in the Torah, who rose from slavery and imprisonment to become a ruler in Egypt, illustrates this perfectly. Despite his hardships, Joseph maintained faith and integrity. His success was a combination of divine blessing and wise action. I learned to emulate this balance, to work diligently, honestly, and with faith. The rabbi also shared with me the secret of wise financial stewardship found in the laws of ma'aser, tithing. Traditionally, we give 10% of our earnings to charity. This practice is not just about giving, but about setting boundaries and priorities for our wealth. By committing to ma'aser, I disciplined myself to live within my means and to consciously allocate resources for the benefit of others. This brings us back to the idea that wealth is not for hoarding, but for sharing and building community. In modern life, this principle can be applied in many ways. It might mean supporting charitable organizations, helping a neighbor in need, or investing in community projects. I found that when I gave generously and responsibly, I was not diminished but enriched in ways beyond money. Relationships deepened, my reputation grew, and doors opened that I never expected. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about the power of learning and growth. The Torah instructs us to study and seek wisdom constantly. Proverbs 3:13 says, "Happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding." The Talmud in Avot 4:1 teaches that Torah study is greater than charity and acts of loving kindness because knowledge guides our actions and ensures they are righteous. After my financial collapse, I committed myself to learning not just Torah, but also business principles grounded in ethics and wisdom. This integration of spiritual and practical knowledge was transformative. For example, I studied the business ethics found in the writings of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, who emphasized that work is a form of divine service and that success must be pursued with honesty and respect for others. This inspired me to build businesses that not only generated profit but also contributed positively to society. When you build your work on a foundation of Torah values, your success is not just financial, but deeply fulfilling. Another lesson I absorbed is the importance of patience and perseverance, qualities extolled repeatedly in Jewish tradition. The story of the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years teaches us that growth and transformation take time. We cannot expect overnight miracles. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot reminds us that who is wise? One who learns from every person. I learned to be patient with myself and to seek wisdom in every experience, even failures. In practical terms, this meant setting realistic goals and not giving up when progress was slow. I began to see setbacks not as failures, but as lessons and opportunities for growth. This mindset allowed me to rebuild my confidence and my financial foundation steadily. I also want to highlight the significance of community, or kehillah, in Jewish life and financial success. The Torah commands us to live in community, to support and be supported by one another. When I was struggling, I isolated myself out of shame. But the rabbi reminded me of the power of connection. The Talmud in Gittin 59b teaches that a person cannot stand alone. The community uplifts each individual. I began to engage more deeply with my community, offering help where I could and accepting help when needed. This mutual support created a network of trust and opportunity. People want to do business with those they know and respect. When your reputation is rooted in kindness, integrity, and generosity, you become a magnet for blessings. In modern terms, this means networking with authenticity and building relationships based on shared values. One of the most profound teachings I learned from the rabbi was about joy, or simcha, in our service to God and in our work. The Torah commands us to serve God with joy. This is not just about feeling happy, but about embracing a positive, hopeful outlook even in challenges. The Talmud in Ta'anit 22a teaches that simcha is a powerful spiritual force that can bring healing and success. I realized that my earlier approach to business was fraught with anxiety and fear. I was driven by scarcity and insecurity. When I embraced simcha, I found that I could face challenges with courage and creativity. Joy became my secret weapon. It attracted people to me and opened doors that logic alone could not open. In practical terms, cultivating joy means finding meaning in your work, celebrating small victories, and maintaining a hopeful vision of the future. It means singing songs, sharing laughter, and expressing gratitude daily. These spiritual practices infuse your financial journey with light and energy. Now, let us talk about the importance of humility and recognizing our limits. Pride can blind us to risks and lead to poor decisions. The Torah in Proverbs 16:18 warns us, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." This wisdom echoes throughout our sacred texts and lived experience alike. When I first began my journey rebuilding my financial life, I had to confront my own pride, the belief that I could do it all alone, that asking for help was a sign of weakness. Yet, the Torah teaches us that recognizing our limitations is not weakness, but the beginning of true strength. Consider the example of King Solomon, renowned for his unparalleled wisdom. In his prayer for understanding, Solomon asked God not for riches or long life, but for a discerning heart to govern the people well. His humility before God allowed him to receive the greatest gift of wisdom, which in turn brought prosperity and peace to his kingdom. This teaches us that success grounded in humility leads to sustainable and meaningful achievement. Humility also opens the door to learning and growth. The Talmud in Barakot 5a tells us that, "Who is wise? One who learns from every person." This means that no matter how much we know or have achieved, we remain students of life. I recall a time early in my career when a mentor, much younger than myself, offered me a piece of advice that initially challenged my assumptions. Had I been prideful, I would have dismissed his counsel, but instead, I listened and grew. That moment of humility shifted my trajectory and contributed to my later success. In practical terms, cultivating humility means embracing feedback, being willing to admit mistakes, and recognizing that our knowledge and resources have limits. It also means understanding that our wealth and accomplishments are gifts from God, entrusted to us for a greater purpose. This mindset frees us from the bondage of ego and allows us to operate with clarity and grace. Another cornerstone of Jewish teaching that profoundly influenced my financial transformation is the concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world. Our prosperity is not just for personal gain, but for contributing to the healing and betterment of society. the prophet Isaiah exhorts us to loosen the chains of injustice, to share your bread with the hungry. This is not merely a call to charity, but a mandate for active social responsibility. When I began to view my wealth as a tool for tikkun olam, it transformed how I conducted business. I started investing in ventures that aligned with ethical values, creating jobs that uplifted communities, and funding educational initiatives that empowered the next generation. Each financial decision became an opportunity to fulfill a divine mission. This shift brought not only external success, but profound personal fulfillment. From a historical perspective, Jewish communities throughout the ages have exemplified tikkun olam through their enterprises. The early Jewish merchants in medieval Europe were known not only for their commerce, but for their philanthropic efforts, establishing schools, hospitals, and social welfare systems. Their legacy teaches us that sustainable prosperity is inseparable from communal responsibility. In modern life, tikkun olam translates into corporate social responsibility, ethical investing, and conscious entrepreneurship. It challenges us to ask, how does my business impact the environment? Does it promote dignity and fairness? Am I contributing to society's well-being? These questions guide us beyond mere profit towards purpose-driven success. Let's explore the power of intention, or kavana, in our financial endeavors. The Hasidic masters teach that the intention behind an action can elevate its spiritual impact. It is not enough to work hard, we must also align our efforts with holy purpose. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov famously said, "The entire world is a very narrow bridge, and the main thing is not to be afraid." When I began to infuse my business activities with kavana, praying before meetings, reflecting on the higher purpose of my work, and visualizing success that benefits others, I noticed a profound difference. This spiritual alignment sharpened my focus, enhanced my creativity, and cultivated resilience. It transformed mundane tasks into acts of divine service. The Zohar, the foundational work of Jewish mysticism, teaches that kavana can elevate the sparks of holiness embedded in all material things. By approaching our finances with sacred intention, we participate in the cosmic process of tikkun, repairing and uplifting the world's spiritual fabric. This is not abstract mysticism, but a practical guide to imbuing our daily lives with meaning. In practical application, cultivating kavana means beginning each day with a morning blessing that sets your mind on gratitude and purpose. It means pausing before financial decisions to ask, is this aligned with my values? Does this serve my community? Does it honor God's creation? This practice transforms our relationship with money from one of fear and scarcity to one of trust and stewardship. Shabbat observance, which I mentioned earlier, is also deeply connected to kavana. When we cease work on Shabbat, we create sacred space to reflect on our blessings and realign our intentions. This weekly reset nurtures our spiritual well-being and strengthens our capacity to handle financial challenges with calm and clarity. Now, let me share a personal story that illustrates the transformative power of kavana and humility combined. Early in my career, I faced a critical business negotiation that could make or break my fledgling company. I was nervous but determined. Before entering the meeting, I took a moment to pray silently, asking for wisdom and integrity. I reminded myself to listen attentively, to approach the negotiation as a partner seeking mutual benefit rather than an adversary. As the negotiations unfolded, I noticed that my calm and respectful demeanor diffused tension. I was able to see creative solutions that honored both parties' needs. Ultimately, we reached an agreement that was not only financially beneficial, but also strengthened the relationship, laying the groundwork for future collaborations. This was a direct result of applying kavana and humility in a high-stakes situation. This experience taught me that true power in business comes not from aggression or manipulation, but from a place of inner peace, clear intention, and genuine respect for others. It is about understanding that every interaction is an opportunity to create a Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of God's name through ethical conduct and positive engagement. This approach not only brings success, but also deep personal satisfaction and a clear conscience. Furthermore, the rabbi emphasized the importance of bitachon, active trust in God. This is not a passive hope that things will work out, but a deep conviction that after we have done our utmost, Hashem will guide the outcome for the best. The Talmud in Menachot 29b teaches that one should always rely on God. This reliance, however, is not an excuse for inaction. On the contrary, it empowers us to act boldly and creatively, knowing that our efforts are supported by a divine hand. I remember a period when I had invested heavily in a new venture and the market took an unexpected downturn. Panic began to set in. I had done all my due diligence, but the external circumstances were beyond my control. I went to the rabbi, distraught. He listened patiently and then reminded me of the story of Nachshon ben Aminadab, who was the first to jump into the Red Sea before it parted. Nachshon's act of faith, of taking the first step into the unknown, is the epitome of bitachon. The rabbi told me, "David, you have done your part. Now trust that Hashem will part your sea." This gave me the courage to stay the course, to continue working diligently, and to maintain my faith. Slowly but surely, the market recovered, and the venture not only survived, but thrived. This was a powerful lesson in the interplay of human effort and divine providence. Bitachon also provides immense inner peace. When we truly trust that God is in control, we are freed from the crippling anxiety that often accompanies financial endeavors. This peace allows for clearer thinking, better decision-making, and greater resilience in the face of adversity. It transforms our struggles from burdens into opportunities for spiritual growth and deeper connection with the Creator. Finally, the rabbi instilled in me the profound understanding that our wealth is ultimately a means to an end, not an end in itself. The ultimate purpose of all our endeavors, including financial success, is to bring greater holiness into the world, to fulfill our unique mission, and to draw closer to Hashem. The Midrash Tanchuma teaches that the purpose of all the commandments is to purify the heart. Our financial journey, therefore, is a path of purification, a means to refine our character and to become better people. This perspective transformed my entire approach to life. I no longer chased money for money's sake. Instead, I focused on building businesses that created value, fostered ethical relationships, and contributed positively to society. My financial success became a byproduct of living a life aligned with Torah values. The more I focused on purpose, the more abundance flowed into my life. I want to leave you with this powerful thought. Your financial journey is a spiritual journey. It is an opportunity to cultivate faith, practice generosity, embody integrity, embrace humility, foster community, and live with joy. It is a chance to repair the world, one ethical decision, one act of kindness, one moment of gratitude at a time. If you are struggling, remember that you are not alone. The wisdom of our tradition offers a timeless blueprint for success, not just in dollars, but in true fulfillment and peace. Start today. Take one small step. Cultivate gratitude. Give generously. Act with integrity. Seek wisdom. Build community. And trust in Hashem with all your heart. May your path be filled with light, abundance, and peace. May your efforts be blessed, and may you find profound joy in using your wealth to uplift yourself, your family, your community, and the entire world. Thank you for listening. May these words inspire you to unlock the millionaire within, not just in your bank account, but in your soul. Shalom.